welcome back to Everything But the Lesson Plan, the show that speaks to the hearts of educators and the humans behind the job. I am your host, Franchesca Thompson, and today we're getting real about something we all face, but rarely name out loud. That word, doubt. You know the feeling, the quiet voice that whispers, "Are you sure you're good enough? What if you fail? What if they find out you don't have it all together?" Whether you're a teacher walking into a tough classroom, a parent trying to raise a teenager, or someone just trying to live with purpose, doubt doesn't discriminate. Not at all. But here's the truth: it doesn't have to win. Today, I'm going to share some honest stories, real strategies, and hope. Yes, I said it, hope for anyone who is struggling to believe in themselves. So, you know what? Doubt is normal, but it's not the truth. Let me start by saying this: doubt is just part of the journey, guys. If you've ever questioned yourself, congratulations, you're human. I remember when I started teaching, I had the passion, I had the degree. Well, I was in the pursuit of the degree. Um, I had my bachelor. Let me clear that up. I had my bachelor's degree, right? But not in education. So I was a career switcher. So definitely doubt creeped in there because I had to go back to school to learn how to be an educator, And so I still remember standing in front of the classroom thinking, okay, what if I'm not enough for my students? What if I don't even know what the heck I'm doing? Like, I'm new to this. What if what if my students know more about the class, the subject than I do? Right? It's all of these things that go through our head. And you know what makes it even worse nowadays is when we compare ourselves, especially with the existence of social media. My goodness. So with social media, we're seeing teachers who, can perfectly decorate their classrooms. Like, I wasn't really that teacher. I just wasn't crafty like that. I wish I had that skill. And so, everything was color coded, everything was put together. The word walls were beautiful. You just walk in the room, you're like, oh my God, is this a classroom? Yeah, that wasn't my classroom per se. I loved things like that, but I just didn't know how and could not do those things. So, you start wondering, my gosh, am I even supposed to be here? I can't even cut this paper correctly. So, so it's all of these things that we start thinking and our head starts tripping about, right? But here's the thing: doubt often shows up right before growth. It's a signal, not of your inadequacy, but of your investment. You see, I was heavily invested in the career, right? I just knew that that was my calling, but I didn't know how to do all of the things, right? And there were some things I was good at, and there were some things that I was just never going to be good at, but just was trying to force myself to be good at these things. And it was, at some point, you just got to be like, okay, it's okay, friend, that's not you. Right. Or it's, you just got to at some point just stop, analyze, and say, is it worth it for me to continue to pursue this thing that I know that I just cannot do? Right. But that's just how doubt works, right? We don't doubt what you don't care about. Okay. We just don't doubt what we don't care about. And so for my educators who are just really passionate about the job, when you find yourself doubting yourself, okay, it's something because it's something you're really passionate about. It's something that you care about. It's something that you love and you want to be able to do, and you don't want to be judged behind it, right? So let's talk about some solutions and how do we fight back this thinking. Well, first you got to name it. You got to name it out loud. Doubt thrives in silence. Write it down. Say it to a trusted friend. You'd be surprised how small your fear becomes when you give it a name. I'm dealing with this right now with my business, Thrive 12. I have this really good friend. I mean, she's like the coolest friend ever. Me and her both kind of launched our businesses at the same time. And she seems to be a little more further ahead than I am. And we have these like monthly check ins. And at some point, I was dreading these monthly check ins because I was like, oh my God, she's got all this business. I'm watching her on social media. There we go again, that social media. And here I am, just barely launched my Amazon store and can't keep up with it because I'm in school pursuing a my PhD. And I'm like, why am I even doing all of these things? And so at first I was like, not wanting to call her, just wondering if she was thinking things behind me not progressing the way I thought. But she was never even that type of friend. She would never judge me in that capacity. She only does the monthly check ins so that we can kind of encourage each other. So, it's good to just kind of name out these things. And then I had to kind of name out, friend, your business is going to thrive. Uh, it's in the name, Thrive 12, right? So it's going to thrive. You just got to kind of get things in order. You've got to kind of figure this piece out here and just continue to grow and glow in this area in space. So that's what I can constantly do every day, right? So definitely name it out loud. Keep a win folder or binder. I still have my win folder. It was actually kind of like my binder, and it's just of notes and things from students, from different celebrations, certificates, awards I've received along the way. So definitely keep up with that. Keep a folder, emails from parents, those moments that you're proud of. And so when that doubt creeps in, you can pull those things out and kind of look over. And sometimes this is random. I was just the other day cleaning out one of my folders, and I was going through these news articles that had been written about me and some of the programs I've done early on. And I was just like, oh my God, I am bad. I'm this girl, I'm a bad chick. Like for real, I did this. And sometimes you need those wins. They might sit down like that folder I haven't touched in years. And so at that moment, I needed that folder, didn't even realize it, went through those things and was just like shocked at myself. And I was like, wow, look at where I've come from and look how far I've come. And so keep a folder or some type of binder with your wins that you can kind of take a peek at sometimes whenever you're down. Another thing we got to do, reframe the narrative. Instead of I'm not good enough, why don't you try things like I'm still learning? Even me with with my Thrive 12 business, I launched this Amazon store. It was almost the death of me trying to get it launched. It took me a whole year to get to a launch point, and even then, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I'm still learning. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm listening to different podcasts. I'm watching different YouTube series on how to have a successful store. And I'm just kind of like, and then I have this spreadsheet with all of the things that I want to do, the future of my company, and where I want to be. And so in the process, I understand that it's just not going to all happen overnight, and I'm still learning. And so even with you, you might be new to the industry. You might be a new teacher. You're not going to come in knowing everything, right? You're going to be learning throughout the year. They're going to assign you mentors. They're going to assign you you'll have an assistant principal or your principal who will guide you, and you're going to learn from that. So don't look at it as I'm not good enough right now as a first year teacher. You are. We need you, and you are just still learning in the process. You could say things like, I've overcome things before, and I can overcome this too. Look at your life and the things that you've had to overcome, right? Just take a moment and reflect on that and know that you did that. So that energy that you got, that you used to get through those moments, you're going to use that same energy again to get through whatever moments you go through this school year. Take one brave step. You don't have to leap, just take one small step each and every day to get to where you're trying to go to. You could email the principal. You can apply for the grant. You could speak up in a meeting. Bravery isn't about being fearless. It's about acting despite of fear. Okay? So just think about those one step, the one small step that you want to make this year. You know, there was a teacher that I knew, and I'm just going to call her Mariah. Okay, it is not her real name, but I'm just going to say Mariah. She was a brilliant educator. She was very gifted, and she knew how to connect students. That was like her gift, especially the ones others had given up on. So she was able to connect with those students. She was able to, in her classroom, create these bonds with students. That was just so powerful to see, right? But she had doubt, okay? She was convinced that she wasn't making a difference. And she talked about this a lot. She struggled. She compared herself to others all the time. And at some point, she was like, she didn't even feel she was good enough to be in that particular school. And all of the thinking around that, and all of the not feeling you're good enough, what does that do to you as a person? And so, after a while, continuing to come in every day and to show up at that school, she had to eventually let go of that narrative. And she continued to build herself up and believe in herself. She had the positive feedback that she was getting from her students. They loved her. My gosh, she was like popular teacher. So popular that her program just was exploding with students signing up to get into her classroom. And the school had to hire an extra teacher to support the growth and all of these things, right? So she was always good enough, even though in her mind she started off thinking that she wasn't. And so that can cost you sometimes if you allow doubt to win. And in her case, it just took time, it took practice, it took understanding herself and believing in herself. And then she finally got to the other end of that, right? And so if you're listening to this and carrying doubt, oh, it's like a weight on your shoulder. Please hear me. You are more than enough. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to keep showing up. Okay. I know teachers who grew up with doubt at the dinner table, people who were told they would never be enough, and they still became educators, they still became doctors, they still became lawyers and innovators. I know moms who doubt whether they're doing this parenting thing right, but their kid looks at them like they hung the moon. Hope isn't about never doubting. Hope is choosing to keep going anyway. So let's this be a reminder. Doubt may visit, but it doesn't get to unpack and live in your spirit. You were not put on this earth to shrink. You were made to grow. You were made to love. You were made to teach. You were made to build. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do and say to doubt is, not today. Thank you for spending the time with me. If this episode touched you, share it with someone. Just let this be a reminder that you are enough. Until next time, I am Franchesca Thompson. This is Everything But the Lesson Plan. Keep teaching, keep believing, keep thriving.